What's up, y'all? What's happening? Hey, my content's for educational purposes only. Can't stress enough for you guys to do your own research. Praise my content. Find any errors, throw it in the comments. None of us have been alive long enough to know all that transpired in the past, and none of us can live long enough to know all there is to learn. A lot going on right now, right? Um, you know, I mind my business, keep my ears to the ground, and do what I gotta do. I ain't in nobody's way. I ain't none of that, but I'm making my business to stay informed and be aware. And that brings me to today's topic of discussion. Um, One of the scholars, Dr. Henrik Clarke, John Henrik Clarke, made a statement. And the statement goes as follows: we have no friends. That is what I want to touch on today. I know everybody's seen, the controversy surrounding Kanye. And there's enough been said about that, so I'm not really going to speak on Kanye. However, the derivatives around what's going on with him, because it's not only happening on the world stage, there are a bunch of little microcosms in society that is also taking place as well. Mainly due in part because you have a lot of people following the followers. What do you mean by that, Malik? Well, what Malik means by that is the fact that, the people that are currently in power, they have largely been born into that wealth in those positions of power. They were born into those positions of power and wealth based upon their forefathers and foremothers in the preservation of the wealth that they amassed, along with the knowledge. Now you can carry that back generation to generation, back to when Europe was in the so-called Dark Ages. And there were people that showed up during a time where the people in Europe didn't bathe, they couldn't read, they lived in houses with chickens, pigs, cat, all that, etc. However, a people showed up and they brought in medicine, alcohol, taught them how to bathe. They brought in, language. They brought in, mathematics. They brought in, architecture. They brought in, the sciences of agriculture, all of the cosmos sciences, etc. They practically civilized them. They literally civilized them. So, compare and contrast. Okay. That was back in the 7th century. Okay? History is best qualified through research. So if you come from the 7th century on up to the present and you study the things that they have done and the methods they employed to do so, then you look at us today, carbonated, melanated beings, aboriginals, the aborigines, you know, the Indians, etc. Yeah, you know, and you look at the state in which we find ourselves. You know, I know everybody's not going to resonate with this video, and I may even get some flack behind it, but the truth is just going to be there, regardless of whether you like it, trying to hear it, want to come to terms with it. But the truth is what it is. It's going to be there. So, we are in a state today of let me rephrase that. We are in a state today that lacks largely self-respect, integrity, honesty, you know, moral ethics, you know, self-love. There's a list of things. However, I'm not going to talk about the effects and not point out the causes, because every effect has its cause, universal law, and every cause has its effect. Nothing happens for nothing. So, you go back. Now it's time to go back on the chronological timeline with us. You know, you can just go back to the 70s where, you know, as a people, we had a sense of pride. You know, we had dignity. We had a sense of unity. We moved in a synchronized way. Yeah, of course we had, you know, moles and whatever, you know, that allowed for, you know, COINTELPRO and other governmental agencies to, you know, what's the word I'm looking for? Not penetrate. Yeah, penetrate, but, you know, they were able to plant someone on the inside of the different organizations that were going on in the 70s and dismantle them thereby. Then you can go back earlier than that to the 20s, you know, where the family structure was firm. You know, marriages, you know, regardless of the, you know, excess that took place in the marriages, largely they stuck together for the welfare of the children. And I know today, it's a fact that everybody has the position, mainly, that children aren't enough or not important enough for me to stay in a situation that I'm not happy with. And before I go even further back, this is what I'm going to say about that, myself included. we really have to take a look, and this is not going to be the first time I said this. We need to really take a look at how we approach relationships. You know, our ancestors had, you know, systems in place that determined, you know, who and why you were to get married. This is way back though. I don't want to overstep myself. But at the end of the day, you know, a lot of things were different back then, and we still at the 20s right now. The music was different. You see, you know, a lot of stuff was largely about, you know, love, which is the strongest and the highest vibration that you can embody. You know, sure there were all the negative stuff that was going on that was happening. However, on the world stage, you know, even though that, you know, at the people at that time were largely discriminated against, you know, you have the programs like what is that called? The Homestead Act. You know, matter of fact, since I'm mentioning it, let me grab it and read what that is for y'all, real quick, really quick. 1 second. 1 second. Okay. The Homestead Act. Okay. As an example, to prove the point, I want y'all to take a look at this picture here. As you can see, the conditions were less than ideal. However, they were all together. They were all together. Now here is the Homestead Act. The Homestead Act reads as follows. It's just it's one paragraph. And this act, the Homestead Act, was enacted in 1862. Okay? Roughly 60 years prior to where I'm at in my timeline. It says, signed into law by President Abraham Lincoln on May 20th, 1862, the Homestead Act encouraged Western migration by providing settlers 160 acres of public land. In exchange, homesteaders paid a small filing fee and were required to complete 5 years of continuous residence before receiving ownership of the land. And you guys can look that up for further information on it. However, just wanted to point that out, you know, because again, we're talking about the causes that brought about the effects that we see today. You know, back in roughly in the same timeline around the 20s, you had Black Wall Street. You know, a thriving Aboriginal community, because African American is nonsense. You know, you can claim what you want, but you can have a white person, a so-called white person, because that's a legal status as well. You can have a Caucasian that was born in Africa and migrated to America, a Mexican, more appropriately named. However, they would be more of an African American than you or I if you happen to be a carbonated, melanated Aboriginal. To take my point further, where's the flag associated with that term? Where's the flag and or landmass and or nation behind that term. Okay, what about black? Okay, what about Negro? What about color? Okay? That's my point. So you claim what you want to claim. I suggest that, anybody watching this video take a strong look into the laws, and your status and standing as it relates to law and commerce. There are legal ramifications. That's a whole nother video. I don't want to get into that because it's a whole nother video I'm going to do on that. Okay, so then you take it back. You take it back to the 1800s. This is like that first picture I showed y'all. You had a lot of us living like that. None of our foremothers and forefathers were considered for the Homestead Act. In fact, during that time, you had a lot of people, a lot of our foremothers and forefathers that had money to buy land, and they were discriminated against, not given consideration in order to spend their money to acquire land. Yeah, this is back when you could get property in allodium, free and clear, no mortgage, no taxes, none of that. Then you take it further back, and we couldn't even look Caucasians in the face. It's a lot, man. It's just a lot, man. And then you take it all the way back. Let's take it all the way back. To when our foremothers and forefathers weren't even allowed to read. They got caught with literature or, got found out that they could read. If they weren't reading something that benefited the slave master, then you already know what kind of time it was at that point. So, there are a lot of things I got to point out. You have those of us, of our forefathers and foremothers, that were not able to practice their cultural rituals under the threat of death. They had to go by other names. They were largely degraded, and a lot of traumas that they suffered, man. A lot of traumas. A lot of our forefathers were raped. It's already a given that the women were raped. This is why they get preferential treatment today. It's a dual purpose. It was a part of the plot to break down the family structure and empower the women and disenfranchise the man. This is where you get that what I need a man shit for. Because everything is largely based around finances, monetary possessions, shit like that, And, I think I went far enough back to kind of like illustrate my point enough to get into the crux of where I want to go to with this. We have a lot of ancestral baggage. They basically see the conquerors get to rewrite history. They get to control what happens and what doesn't happen in any given society. So we're taught things that have nothing to do with understanding who and what we are, having knowledge of self. and you're highly susceptible to whatever someone tells you, you are. To whatever someone teaches you, you are. And they've made so many examples from the times of slavery on up to now, that not only are a lot of people afraid, which is their power, your fear is their power, then you have a lot of people that are all right. They're just as cool and complacent under the guise of being free. Not understanding, this democracy that we're presently under. But before I veer off onto that status and standing thing, let me get back to something that kind of like goes hand in hand with that. But I look at it as being prerequisite because it has a lot to do with our culture and our customs. I feel the need to speak on that because I know a lot of us know all about everybody else's culture. But it just ain't worth looking into your own. Again, I live and let live. This is for those who it resonates with. If the shit I'm talking about right now resonates with your soul, with your being, then yeah, keep watching, because again, back to my initial point, we've had no friends. We've had no friends, and let's just bring it back to the day. I just wanted to do a compare and contrast. Today, nobody gives a fuck about the next person. And this even goes for a lot of family. Nobody gives a fuck about the next person unless and until some shit hit their doorstep. Then you want everybody to care because it's happening to you. But the same shit that happened to somebody else can happen to any of us. The same way all the names that we know within the last, 10 years that then died at the hands of the slave patrol. They call themselves policemen now. Same way it happened to them, it can happen to any of us. I've always been a fan of if you can outthink them, you can beat them. Rarely, Sun Tzu, the art of war. The art of war is to win the war without having to go to war. And there's a lot of times where violence isn't even necessary. Getting back to it though, when you look at the world stage, we are still not only the laughing stock, the butt of the joke, but we're vulnerable. We are vulnerable. And if I know I said I wasn't going to speak on Kanye, but I am going to say this one thing. You look at how the brother's standing on some truth. And, before I even finish what I'm about to say, man, you know, I know you got the trolls, the internet gangsters and killers and all that. Listen, do what you will, man, but I'm not entertaining no bullshit. Do your research. That's all I'm gonna say. Um, the brother really got no support. You know what I mean? And what he's doing can spark revolution. But just like in the many microcosms in society, you have a lot of people. Oh man, I ain't fucking with Master. They controls the money. Hey man, at some point, man, especially when you know what this so-called money is revolving around, you know, if you really knew what it revolved around, you would take some steps to change your status. You know, learn how to discharge some debt around here instead of, you know, adding to the national deficit. You know, running around here with your chest all poked out, you know, and you don't even know how to discharge debt. And that's not a knock, because these are things that we were purposely not taught. Just like we were purposely not told about what comes with this democracy, what comes with being a 14th Amendment citizen. You know, it's so much, man, you know, and all we seem to focus on is all the little facets that they control. You know, all these new plantations, you know, and the gatekeepers or the plantation owners. You know, if you can't benefit them, they ain't looking at you no way. You know, but if they see the genius in you, whether that be a physical, an intellectual, or just some type of cerebral skill that you have, that they can scale and monetize. See, they scale and monetize our gifts. Our abilities, you know. So my question is, why do we have to have somebody else scale and monetize our blessings and our gifts and our abilities? Why is it that we have to have somebody else to oversee us, period? Are we that fucked up? Have we been under their thumb that goddamn long? You know? Everybody respects power. Or what looks to be power. You know? Everybody trying to do what everybody else is doing. Where's the individuality at? Where's the uniqueness at? You know, our direct forefathers or foremothers. You can take it back to the 70s again, 60s, the 50s, when a lot of our parents were, you know, born or in their teens, preteens, what have you. All of them had more heart than we got today. Because what are we doing for ourselves, for each other? Police damn near killing somebody. Get off him. Stop it. Yeah. Back in the day, yeah, they might have took their lumps. They might have got fucked up. Some of them even lost their lives. But they had the heart to show that it ain't sweet. You ain't just going to do what you want with no kind of redirect. You know? And again, like I say, man, all it takes nowadays, because there's so much, we in the age of information, man. All this fucking information out there. It's a lot of information out there, man. Oh, y'all, I mean, you know, hey, let me relax, because one thing I understand is everybody ain't gonna make it. Everybody's not going, you know, see the other side of the tunnel. You know, largely because you're wasting time. You're expecting somebody to do something for you, instead of going through whatever you got to go through to do it for yourself. Then you have the go-alongs to get-alongs. That shit ain't got nothing to do with me. It ain't bothering me. It ain't stopping my money. Yeah, okay. Right now, it's not. It may not be right now. But you're going to be expecting for motherfuckers to come to the rescue when they do. But you wouldn't lift a fucking finger to do nothing when it was happening to somebody else. You know, there's a whole lot of other things I can talk about relative that tie in, that ties into certain aspects of what I've been talking about in this 31 minutes. But again, man, you know, I already understand what don't penetrate ricochet. You know? What don't penetrate ricochet. You know? And then, you know, this is crazy, man. Prisoners of war. What kind of war? Psychological, spiritual, educational, nutritional. We under so many forms of war right now, under the guise of freedom. At the end of the day, man, you know, at some point, man, we have to develop some form, some type of unity, some type of love for one another, to where as though, you know, hey man, fuck that, you're not gonna do that to him. You're not gonna do that to him. Or you're not gonna do that to her. Motherfucker police. Fuck you need to call them for? See, the thing is, people assume that this civilization that we in today is gonna last through the test of time. I don't know about all that. You know? So that's another side of a coin right there to look at. You know? How prepared are you? How prepared are we? You know, if this shit just crashed today or tomorrow and everybody got to fend for their fucking self. Against whatever, whoever. How prepared are you really? How much is that fucking money and all the bullshit you got gonna mean then? It's a lot of fraud going on, man. A lot of fraud. A lot of fraud. A lot of technology, you know. ETC. You know. And I know they trembling in their fucking boots today. Enough of us realize it and move on it. But anyway, with that being said, man, you know, at some point, like I said, man, we have to come on, man. We are we not the original people? I know they say it's only 144,000, but you know, and then it's a whole lot of other things that play into it. You know, a lot of people, you know, I don't want to go into that. So what I'm gonna do is, man, because I think I said enough to kind of get the point across of where I'm coming from, and there's a bunch of other videos, you know, I need to really create the blueprint for to maintain the structure throughout the video, you know, but I just find it sad, man, that, you know, everything has been relegated to something that's held in such a high esteem but has so little value, you know. Everybody's chest is so poked out. For what? Everybody's ego is super overinflated. For what? Um, there's so few individuals willing to stand up and initiate change, you know, and that's whether we talking about one of the microcosms or we talking about on the world stage, you know. So much fear in the air. So many people plagued by their fears. So many people controlled by their fears. Sometimes, man, I question myself whether I'm actually even wasting my time with content such as this, because I've seen personally the results of standing up against the oppression. This is one of the main reasons why I understand how and why no more Malcolm X's have risen up, or any of the thousands of other, you know, individuals that stood up for the people, because the people served them the fuck up. All the cowards serve them up. It just burns me, man, how, you know, when you know, it's I understand it's a saying that they say the woker you become, the more conscious you become, the more angry you get at the shit you were able to recognize. You know. Anyway, man, hopefully, man, somebody was able to see where I was coming from, as well as somebody being able to see the importance of what I spoke on. You know, and you know, on the individual level, man, we just got to start being the changes that we want to see. You know, having your little private sidebars and your private conversations ain't gonna change a motherfucking thing. You know, it just ain't. How long you been having your little punk ass private conversations? And what has changed as a result of them? My point exactly. I digress. So, you know, don't put no shoes on your feet that ain't supposed to be there. But if the shoe fit, wear it with pride. You know, and with that, man, y'all be easy, man. I'm gonna cut this one short before I say something, you know, that's not even appropriate, you know, but like I say, man, time for us to start taking responsibility for who and what we are, where we at, as opposed to where we need to be. You know, I can remember back in the day when we used to talk about the Mexicans. I don't see them struggling. I mean, of course, you have people that, you know, are in the lower, you know, socioeconomic classes. But at the end of the day, you know, they are not in the same state they were in 20 years ago. What about us 20 years ago? What's changed about our condition? And why do people feel the need to poke their chest out so far about nothing? You know what I mean? I don't know, man. Maybe I know it's not just me. You know, I mean, you know, of course you're supposed to celebrate the little wins that you get, the progress you make. But come on, man. At some point, man, shit gonna have to change. You know, and I'm gonna initiate. I'm gonna play my individual part in taking responsibility for me and my change, and the changes that I know I need to make in order to propel myself in a position where as though I can make some changes or initiate some sort of a change, you know, at least to where as though I can assist those that are willing to do whatever they have to do for themselves, you know. I don't know, man. I just, you know, it reminds me of the days back, you know, when I was doing all the time I was doing. You know, you had so many killers and gorillas until that white man showed up. Because 90% of the COs are Caucasian. Once one of them showed up, all that gorilla shit and that killer shit, 95% of the times dissipated. You can hear a mouse crack a fart. But you a killer with everybody else. Can't respect it. You know. Anyway. Y'all be easy, man. And I think it's time for me to switch up the way I do my videos, man. Because I be a little too invested emotionally. You know what I mean? But it is what it is. Y'all be easy.